Mina the Hollower is an incredible throwback to the 8-bit days of the late 80s. It's a hard-as-hell title without ever feeling overly cheap. As Mina, you will journey through various locales, attempting to repair her life's work, the Spark Towers. Spark is a mysterious substance at the heart of the game's mystery. What is it? Who is good? Who is bad? And is finding it all out worth it? Why, yes. And here's why in the Day One review of Mina the Hollower. The game begins with Mina traveling from her home back to a land she had visited a decade prior. She and the area's leader, Lionel, built a series of 6 Spark Towers. These harness the seeming power of life itself, giving the island the means to maintain and grow as a society. There is a lot of show and do not tell in Mina the Hollower, which I appreciated. You can tell that there has been a lot of love given to the lore, with backstories hinted at during the game's various dialogue sections and cutscenes. No spoilers, as always, but all that mystery I mentioned earlier actually isn't too deep. I guessed who was good, who was bad, and what was going on pretty early, and I don't think the game was really trying to hide it from me that much. Thankfully, Mina is smart and tough, and I never got the sense that she was clueless as to what was really going on. This is a long game focused on getting to and repairing the 6 Spark Towers. If I have any major issue with the story and setup, it is that the final tower requires you to do a lot of backtracking. What lessened my frustration was just how damn good the game's progression felt. Gameplay consists of moving around a 2D plane from an overhead view. Mina is a hollower, which means she can burrow into most surfaces by jumping up with A and then holding A down again. Combat and movement are the same pretty much from start to finish. You're not really gaining new abilities that let you traverse or access areas in new ways. Instead, you have a trinket slot. These trinkets can make it easier to get around or give various passive buffs. The best of which is the one you first obtain, which is a red fairy that will pop into existence whenever Mina gets hit. Every second she's close enough to it, it transfers increased attack speed to her, and this trinket is the main thing that helped me kill every single major boss in the game. There are 2 attack buttons. X is for your main weapon, and Y is for your sidearm. The attack speed buff increase for X from that trinket is so god tier that I never took it off from beginning to end. A few bosses I had trouble with died in seconds when I got a really good string of attacks in thanks to it. The weapons on Arthur are the Morningstar style chain with a spike ball on the end, dual daggers, a big bonker of a hammer, and my eventual favorite, the blaster. I was mostly a Morningstar mouse until I unlocked that blaster, which has 2 modes. The first is firing off up to 8 shots that will bounce off most surfaces and hit things. To reload, you need to use the melee mode, and it's a really fun give-and-take system. As you might have noticed, there is no dodge because B is how you heal. Instead, you will use your burrowing powers by jumping up, burrowing down into the ground, and leaping out as everything is coming around you and you are trying to stay alive in what is an incredibly difficult game. I played on standard difficulty with no assists for the majority of my playthroughs. I did try out a whole bevy of normal and weird as hell assists in the new game plus. Mina the Hollower is one of the most difficult games that I have ever reviewed. Those assists I mention will let you, if you're crazy, make it more difficult, or if you are like most and are looking to make it easier, you got those options. Heck, you can even have God mode on. The make it easier ones do seem to disable achievements/trophies though, which I know is going to upset a few. And those achievements and trophies look ridiculously hard no matter what, because some of them require you to do things like never use the game's underlabs and stuff. What are those underlabs? Mina follows a loop not too dissimilar from the Dark Souls series. There are the underlabs where Mina will go to heal up. They are your checkpoints, and one of the game's achievements is to never enter one. If you do, Mina is healed to full, and her healing vials are restored. The vial system is an interesting one. Whenever Mina hits an enemy, she can gain plasma. This plasma will fill any part of the health bar that is empty after taking damage. But the vials will only heal as much plasma as you have filled. If you're missing half your health, but you've only hit an enemy maybe one time, then healing is going to kind of be pointless. Instead, you need to be aggressive with your offense so you can fill that bar up with yellow plasma to be able to heal properly. I can see why the devs found Bloodborne as an inspiration, though I appreciate their twist on the formula. The vials are restored every time you use a checkpoint instead of having to grind them. The game's encouragement of offense isn't tied to hitting to heal back. It is hitting to be able to heal at all. Though, this is somewhat dulled by being on a 360-degree plane and having your weapons generally just be in the 4 cardinal directions of up, down, left, and right. And the game requires you to hit enemy sprites for those attacks to register. It makes sense, but the number of times I attacked up at an opponent directly above me only for my swing to be a pixel or 2 off and see nothing, while the enemy's giant swipe got me every time, was a little high. The blaster was able to shoot diagonally, and when I unlocked it near the end of my first playthrough, it was an incredible feeling. Going back to the hammer or whip, though, immediately brought back that frustration. But don't let that deter you. Overall, the gameplay and traversal are tightly tuned in a way that always made me feel like I had gotten good when a boss died. Never really felt like I had just simply overpowered things by leveling or gotten lucky. Learning their patterns and knowing when to attack and when to play defensively felt natural, even if it took me 20 or 30 times to get to that point. New Game Plus is a real big thing in Mina the Hollower as well. You can play through 7 times to unlock new modifiers and assists. I beat my first try in roughly 20 hours, though a few of those were spent being lost, not knowing where to go. In New Game Plus, you bring your levels with you, and those levels are achieved by earning in-game currency, aka bones. Not Bone Saw. He's not ready. You can find bones pretty much every time you defeat an enemy or hit a pot or digging them up in the game world while burrowing with your hollowing ability. Every shop uses them, and whenever you gain a certain amount, you can upgrade 4 stats. Your damage, your health, your sidearm damage, and one other. That last stat is the number of bones you can keep in a stockpile that is not lost upon a true death. Mina is powered by sparks, and every time she dies, a spark either flies into the enemy that killed her or is left floating in the environment. If you die while sparkless, then all bones will be lost. But there are yellow diamonds in the world that give you a version of bones that is safe no matter what. That final stat dictates how much of this bone dust you can carry at one time. In my initial playthrough, my death total was I think over 500, and my bones lost were in the dozens of thousands, because, as I said, Mina the Hollower can be really damned hard, but man, the vibes are off the charts. The soundtrack is fantastic. Every major area has its own excellent set of catchy MIDI-style tunes. They, much like the game's 8-bit look, pull you back into that Nintendo Entertainment or Master System era in a way that feels familiar but is also obviously of a higher quality than hardware could actually produce back then. Few games have had so many tracks that get stuck in my head so quickly. They play non-stop while you explore each area. It all starts at the game's main city, Ossex, with branching paths to everywhere else hidden around it in every direction. There are so many secrets to find, including entire systems that I missed the first time through. For 10,000 bones, you can unlock a train system that lets you travel to train stations in each of the game's main areas. One of them is only accessible by train, so you will have to unlock it all eventually. Levels are full of shortcuts to unlock with a healthy amount of checkpoints in the base run. New Game Plus will remove more checkpoints as you get higher in it, though a lot of the shortcuts did still seem to be there for me. I became intimately familiar with the music you hear in the first major area as the path to the city. I spent 3 or 4 hours figuring out how to traverse to each of the other areas from it, because there's no map in Mina the Hollower, only road signs and post-area clear newspapers that give you hints as to where you need to go and how to get there. Training my brain to see the paths I could burrow through and break took time, as they stay really dedicated to that old school look the whole way through. While cutscenes look and animate far better than what you'd be used to on an NES, the actual gameplay sections never look modern. Seeing little teeny tiny paths required me to rewire my brain and its reliance on modern amenities like maps and waypoints. The game's delays seem to have been worth it as well. I didn't run into any major bugs jumping between my PC and Xbox LIX while reviewing the game via Steam. It will be launching on Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC at launch, so nailing the quality could not have been easy for the team at Yacht Club Games. Wrapping things up, Mina the Hollower was well worth the wait. It gives you all the vibes of the best old school games while bringing its own modern sensibilities with smartly paced exploration and tight gameplay. It is an unbelievably difficult and rewarding experience that lets you fine-tune things to match what you are capable of. At just $20 at launch with well over 20 hours of content, I think this one is well worth picking up.